Well, week 2 of Mississippi State training camp is heating up. The pads are popping, intensity is rising, and the dogs are locked in with something to prove this season. But that's not all. A once promising star is finally back to full speed after a brutal injury 2 years ago, and he's ready to remind everyone who he is.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Jaron Spor. I'm a national college football writer at Athlon Sports. That's Landon McBride. We've got another football pack show for you today. We've got to talk about Brenen Thompson. He was on the Freaks list that Bruce Feldman puts out every year. Where does he fall in the rankings, and why is he on the list? We'll talk about that. Also, is there a potential new 2027 quarterback target? We talked about Kingston Johnson's commitment, Malachi Ziegler kind of leading to SMU. Is there a new name to kind of watch? We'll talk about that. But first, we got to talk about fall camp. It is underway. Week 2 got underway today, or Monday, actually. And there's already been some practice reports out there. Media got a little viewing of it. Not a whole lot of like eye-popping stuff. You're not going to get a whole lot, first off. And second off, Mississippi State is one of the more closed-off practices out there. They do 5 periods of camp, and that's all the media gets to view. So there's not a whole lot. But some interesting things came out of it. Punt returners were Anthony Evans, Colin Wilson, Brenen Thompson, and Javen Williams. My guess is that's Anthony Evans' job because that's what he did at Georgia. And then the other thing was the quarterback rotation has been the same. It's been Blake Shapen, followed by Luke Kromenhoek, and then Kamario Taylor after that.
Yeah, nothing really shocking there. And again, no, you can't even take anything away about who the number 2 quarterback is from that. The only thing that kind of jumped out to me is they're still not really giving away who their 5 linemen are. That's kind of something. And then that with Albert Reese working.
And they might not know.
Yeah, they might not know, but they're not even giving you a hint.
Right.
Albert Reese, it's starting to look to me like he's going to end up being the 6th man, just the kind of guy who fills in wherever you need.
Right.
Someone with him working at both guard and tackle, which I mentioned before is one of the most important positions on that line, is having that 6th man who can fill in and be good wherever. So it kind of, it sucks for him going from starter to reserve, but you fill in everywhere. That's a great person to have on your team.
Yeah, for sure. I teased it in the intro. Seth Davis is back out there and was a full go. He even made a couple nice one-handed catches. He's not wearing a protective jersey that we saw him wear previously, and he's a full go in camp. And for those that don't remember, Seth Davis in 2023, so the year before Lebby got there was his freshman season, he had 356 yards rushing, 1 touchdown on 6 yards per carry. Was very promising, but then had that gruesome injury missed all of last year, so didn't get to play under Lebby at all. But now that's another addition to the running back room if he's a full go, and you get a guy that averaged 6 yards per carry in the SEC as a true freshman that is now your 3rd back. You're looking pretty good at the running back position.
Yeah, the running back room was loaded already with Booth and Fluff and Johnny back there, and now you mix him in too. That's almost an embarrassment of riches if you have him back. And he brings a different style. At 5'7", 190, he's not the same back as those other guys. So having someone like that can bring just a different element to the backfield. And we've seen Lebby do it at other stops, go 2 backs back there.
Right.
That gives you more options. When you have more guys who are different, split back sets become a legitimate option for you. And having guys who can hit home runs back there is just awesome.
Yeah, and he obviously isn't going to just get the 3rd spot. Johnny Daniels and Xavier Gayton are 2 guys that he'll have to compete for that spot. But that's good to have him back out there and not be with a protected jersey, be a full go, because that's a guy that we saw a lot of potential from as a freshman. And you were hoping he was going to take that next step last year. Then obviously the injury happens. And so it was kind of, you just hoped he got back to normal, and we'll have to wait and see if he is back normal, but that's at least a good first step. Another couple interesting things, Seydou Traore and Sam West were kind of the most consistent pass catchers at tight end, and we kind of figured that was the case for Traore, but Sam West is kind of a surprise, although I've brought him up previously as I've heard that he's had a really good, off season overall, not just fall camp. And so it looks like that position is starting to shape out as well.
Yeah, that one, and we were pretty confident on who that number one tight end was, unless just something crazy happened in camp. Traore was going to be number one. But, seeing someone actually step up and claim, put a claim on that number 2 spot this early it's big, because it lets you start to build out kind of what you want to do with him. And we've mentioned it many times, the tight end is very important to Levy's offense. So him finding out who those guys are early can allow him to start to kind of, figure out how he wants to utilize them more than it being such a concept or just an abstract idea.
Yeah, and then also in the pass catching realm as well with the wide receivers, Anthony Evans, Brenen Thompson get a lot of the talk. We've talked about them many times, but San Francisco McGee and Ricky Johnson are 2 guys that apparently are taking that next step. And I talked about Kamario Taylor's incredible throw yesterday. That was to McGee with the incredible one-handed catch, but the throw was great as well. And so I had to bring up Taylor's throw on that one. Jaron Glover's another one that's getting talked about quite a bit in this camp, is having a strong camp so far. So it's always good when you got multiple guys, and some of them like McGee and Johnson are 2 guys that haven't really been talked about a whole lot this offseason. So to get them, and then Glover obviously is the Mississippi State transfer. He's played quite a bit of football, almost 20 games of action so far. So having those multiple guys that you can kind of rely on out there at receiver is never a bad thing either.
Yeah, it is. And Ricky Johnson's a guy who I've kind of been watching to see if that breakout would come. We saw a few glimpses of it, and he has a little bit different body type than most of the receivers on this team. He's a little bit bigger, 6'2". So there's definitely a role to fill for someone like that. And I think he's one of the guys who by the middle of the season, I wouldn't be surprised if he's kind of really locked down that either number, if you want to call him the number 3 receiver and call him number, but him, Thompson, and Evans, I think are the 3 who you will see kind of frequently on the field together.
Yeah, I could see that as well. I also Glover is, like you mentioned, Glover, and then
not to discount Mosley. I just
yeah, I think Mosley's going to be one of the ones.
I think those 4 will be
but yeah,
rotation.
Yeah, for sure. And I it's curious to see if Ricky Johnson or McGee step up and become, a consistent threat out there where they can be trusted throughout the season. We'll have to wait and see on that. But for those that are curious, because obviously there's usually 2 or 3 scrimmages that happen during fall camp. The first scrimmage is going to take place on Sunday. So should have some good notes from that starting next week to see, who's looking good out of that. But yeah, there wasn't much or many notes on the defensive side of the ball. Darian Gillette is someone that was mentioned as kind of catching people's attention with his speed and quickness and things like that. And then the defensive line, Will Whitson and Rasheen Thomas are 2 guys that performed well, or at least have been performing well early on. It's still early, so a lot of these guys you're going to hear are performing well, but it's early in camp. So it'll be interesting to see which ones kind of separate and take over and, carve out a role, whether that's starting or being a role player.
Yeah, it's good to see Will Whitson's name on here, not because it's surprising, but, he had like the best stats of any of these transfer linemen. So if he wasn't one of the top performers to this point, it would concern me, because he's a guy who I think can be a leader for this team. And so seeing that he actually is showing it to this point, it's a great sign. Still very early on and anything can happen, but yeah, at least we're getting some positive notes.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I'm interested to see what happens in the scrimmage. How does the offensive line play? How does the defensive line play? Because these scrimmages are pretty live. You go pretty. Obviously, you're not going super hard where someone gets injured or anything like that, but they're pretty close to game style, because you're trying to prepare for the first game, and this is their preseason type stuff. And so we'll see what comes out of that scrimmage. I'm curious to see which one wins between the offensive line, defensive line, how Shapen looked, because he didn't look great in the spring game. So things like that with his connection with the receivers. How's that looking? Is there a lot of bust defensively? Just any kind of notes like that will be fun to see. But all right, coming up next, Brenen Thompson made the Freaks list. We'll tell you where he ranked and why he's that high. We'll talk about that. That's coming next.
Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So, in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. And one surprising thing I noticed with Monarch was just how much I was spending on subscriptions. Everything is a subscription now, and you just start signing up for them and you don't think about it. But then you start wondering where your money went. Where did it go? Where did it go? And then you look at Monarch and it has all laid out. You've spent so much more on subscriptions than what you thought. And then you start to dive into it and realize you don't need half of them. And also noticed I was spending too much on food delivery service. We've all been there. It happens. But with Monarch Money, it puts it all in one place so you can see those things and make those changes to help you start saving more. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so Bruce Feldman has put out his freaks list. He does this every single year. I believe it's 100 players.
Yeah.
What he does.
Usually around 100. Sometimes it goes a little more if there's a few actors.
Yeah, and so this highlights the strongest, fastest, and most physical players in college football. Just going off the top 10 real quick, Jeremiah Smith, Ohio State wide receiver, number 1. Obvious for that.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, Caden Proctor, Alabama offensive tackle. Number 3, Nick Harbor, South Carolina wide receiver. Number 4, Amari.
In football. Sorry to disagree with you, Feldman.
Oh yeah, no, he's especially in the college football video game. He's yes. Ridiculous to use. Number 4, Amari Washington, Oregon defensive tackle. Number 5, Peter Woods, Clemson defensive tackle. Number 6, Dominic McKinley, who's LSU's defensive tackle. Logan Jones, Iowa center, number 7. A lot of offensive defensive linemen in the top 10.
No, I love a center.
Yeah. Number 8, Zane Durant, that's Penn State's defensive tackle. Number 9, Keldrick Falk, Auburn defensive lineman. And number 10 is Sonny Styles, Ohio State linebacker. So most of that is defensive lineman, ironically. But Brenen Thompson made the list. He's the lone Mississippi State player to make the list. He comes in at number 91. Feldman said he spent 3 seasons at Oklahoma before transferring to Mississippi State, where he caught 19 passes for 230 yards and 2 touchdowns. Former high school quarterback who won the Texas 3A 200-meter title, running 21.27. The 5'9", 170-pound Thompson clocked a blazing 23.7 miles per hour this offseason. He bench pressed 305 pounds and squatted 405. He's expected to have a big season for the Bulldogs, taking over the slot spot that Kevin Coleman had, where he put up big numbers last season before transferring. I will say quite a little tweak. He spent 2 years at Oklahoma, 1 year at Texas, so not 3. But other than that, I mean, we talked about his speed. I didn't know the bench press and the squat numbers, so that it blew me away from seeing it, because we already know about his speed. His speed is incredible. But Anthony Evans' speed is incredible. So seeing that the bench and the squat is as high as it is, that is what blew me away.
Yeah, me too. That's what jumped out when I first read that, was those bench and squat numbers. Because, I mean, that's crazy. I mean, you talk about 170 pounds squatting 405. That 405 is not as impressive. You read through some of these linemen squatting 800 pounds, but I mean, it's a 170-pound guy. That's crazy. Yeah. And with those numbers, with his 200-meter time from high school and then like his GPS numbers, I just wanted to have some fun with it. And I kind of looked up some numbers to kind of compare it to like the people who were like, oh, this guy was a freak.
Yeah.
And so like Texas 200-meter title, 21.27. So the only other person I know who's famous who won the 200-meter in high school in Texas was Adrian Peterson. And he won it with a 21.23. So 0.04 seconds difference there. And his GPS tracking number, that 23.7, that's Tyreek Hill speed. Like that is almost exactly what Tyreek Hill has been clocked at recently. So, I mean, that's what you have out there. Obviously, he's not built like either of those guys, but that's the type of speed you're getting.
And that's a fun tool to have on your offense.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, a very fun. And you have 2, really, because like I said, Anthony Evans is very fast as well. The one thing, if I'm him, I'm upset. I'm behind a punter. Daniel Sparks, Virginia's punter's number 90. I'd be a little upset. I'm behind a punter.
I would be a little annoyed too. I mean, that vertical is a little crazy for a punter, though.
The vertical and the 4.25 second shuttle time, only 4 DBs at last year's combine beat him on that. That's pretty impressive too. But yeah, maybe a little upset about the punter being ahead of me. But no, I mean, there can't be, if there is anyone, there's not many players faster than Brenen in college football. I mean, he's got to be maybe the fastest in the sport. He's that fast. I mean, the thing he struggled with last year, though, is kind of getting off press coverage. I think playing him in the slot, moving him around, stuff like that, which stuff Levy excels at. I mean, we saw him turn Drake Stoops into a really, really good college receiver. And a big thing was Stoops was constantly running back and forth, so his lack of size was never – now, he was physical, and he was more physical than Brenen, but you can never take advantage of his lack of size because he was moving so much, so he was never really pressed because he would just send him in motion and then snap it as he was motioning, and then he'd go to his route real quick. And I think you'll see stuff like that with Brenen this year at Mississippi State.
Yeah, I do too, because once he gets that head of steam, there's no one keeping up with him. So even if it's just like go balls, you just get him moving and just takes off from there. I mean, that could be easy money, but that's a great call with how he used him. I think Stoops a little bit better in that short area quickness, kind of changing direction. But
he's a better route runner, and
I mean, those are things. I mean,
more consistent catcher.
Like the route running can be taught.
Yeah.
So if he's worked on that, I'm not saying he doesn't have that short area change of direction quickness. We just haven't seen it yet. So I mean, he might. And if you can combine that with his long speed, that is not just a dangerous weapon on Saturday, that's a dangerous weapon on Sunday.
Well, and that's kind of the risk. Like you see so many of these guys that test incredible at the combine, then go to the NFL and not do anything. And a big reason why is because straight line speed, they're fantastic. But as soon as you add the cutting and the different things like that mixed in with the route running and stuff like, they're just not. They lose a lot of that speed, and when that's what their whole game is around. That's why Tyreek is kind of a freak.
Anomaly.
and he's an anomaly because he is so good at his change of direction and his route running and things like that. That yes, he can beat you with his speed, but he can do so many other things.
Yeah.
And he doesn't lose that speed when he does those things, which we see guys like what was it, John Ross? We had that incredible 40 at Washington, and I bought into the hype because he was great at Washington. And then he runs that 40, and I bought into the hype too, but he never was more than that. He was just a straight line speed guy. And so that's why he never really panned out. But we see that all the time with guys in the NFL. They don't pan out because they're just the straight line speed guys. And so you hope Brenen is not just that, and he's developed the other parts of his game.
I mean, some of it you have to figure out how to use them. Because, I mean, that was the knock on DK Metcalf, was he had no change of direction. Well, guess what? Just have him run routes where he doesn't have to change direction.
And he's 6'5", 240, so throw him some balls.
Run straight or run across the field. That works.
Right. But yeah, you got to figure out how to use it. And I will say that issue isn't usually an issue in college.
No.
Just being fast. Like, that's an issue in the NFL because NFL defenses and defensive backs can take advantage of that. But a lot of times college, you can scheme it where they can't take advantage of it. So I think it's a great spot for him for sure. And hopefully he has a great season. But all right, coming up next, is there a new 2027 quarterback prospect that y'all should know about? We'll tell you that coming up next. Well, time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape ginger and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're seeking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course or off it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. My favorite thing about golf is it's a great thing for all my buddies. We've been friends since elementary school, for all of us to get together, hang out, play some golf, catch back up, and just have some fun on the course. We did it right before my wedding. That's always been my favorite part. We have some great stories. So some really fun stories on the range and on the course as well. But yeah, I mean, one of the stories was we had a friend that he was hitting his ball way right all day, so he finally aimed to left. And any golfer knows as soon as you do that, you're going to hit it straight left, and that's what he did. And he ended up hitting it into an apartment complex. So yeah, he got to pay a little fine on that one, some money on that one. But yeah, that's my favorite part, because golf is all about the good times with good people and good flavors, of course. The grape ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go to without chasing down the beverage cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that is the number 5 and then ourenergy.com, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. Code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion-flavored 5-hour energy shots today. All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, has a new name emerged as a front runner for the 2027 quarterback recruiting spot? Possibly. Well, we got to talk about that. As you know, Jace Johnson, we talked about the other day, high 4-star, pushing the 5-star range, commit to A&M. He was never really a possibility, even though Mississippi State was in his final grouping. Malachi Ziegler has kind of been the one that they've been really pushing for.
Right.
And it sounds like SMU might have taken the lead there. Well, we should know somewhat soon. He's talked about how he wants to commit soon. Kingston Johnson is a guy that keep an eye on. Maroon and White Daily, again, do a great job. Follow them. Go subscribe to them on On3. They do a great job. They brought him up as a possibility. He's under-recruited right now. He's gotten some offers from Tulane and Louisiana. Mississippi State hasn't necessarily shown much interest yet. But this could be a name to kind of keep an eye on. If you go to his On3 site, he's doesn't even have a profile. That's how under-recruited he is right now. Ole Miss is listed as a team that's kind of kicked the tires on him. But it's probably one of those that if he has a strong year, you lose out on Malachi Ziegler, that this is your quarterback prospect that you'll go after hard.
Yeah, I think so. Very under-recruited, and you mentioned, those guys. I mean, he's a smaller guy. I mean, right. I think what I found was at 5'11", 180. So, but the little bit of highlights I was able to dig up, he's a fun quarterback. Yeah. Like, he's got an arm, and he does move a lot, but he keeps his eyes downfield while he's moving. He's not just looking to run, which is good. Most of the guys with speed like him just can take off. So this one isn't a guy who's going to win any kind of, you're not going to win the day on the recruiting profiles, bringing him in. But he's a guy that could be kind of like I talked about, someone who's in the program for a while and just learns and develops and is a backup you could trust and gets his shot after a couple of years possibly.
Yeah, and he was reported on one of the tweets that at a camp he was at, ran a 4.4. I mean, that is lightning fast for a quarterback. So you could have another Kamario Taylor type of player that –
Taylor Light.
Yeah, Mario Taylor, Taylor's a big guy. And I will say he's going into his senior year of high school or his junior year of high school. Like he's got time to grow. But he's a guy, like, you can use that speed at quarterback. And then you mentioned he's got some nice passing mechanics. He's still, you can tell, raw as a passer, but a lot of guys going into their junior year. He's got a very strong arm, and a lot of guys are raw as their technique and everything going into their junior year. It's not like they're not refined as passers and players yet. You don't expect them to be. Right. And they're going to get stronger, which is going to help with the mechanics and things like that. But no, he's a guy, again, if he has a strong year this year, he might be on Mississippi State's radar a little more and maybe even get an offer, and then maybe he can rise up boards. We've seen that all the time because a lot of schools, and I wasn't able to find out if this was his case, but a lot of guys aren't able to start until their junior year, or some get in their sophomore year. So he could have just played his first year last year and then now is kind of getting recruited a little bit by going to the camps and stuff. So that's always a possibility as well. But that's just a name to kind of keep in your back pocket.
Yeah, it's a good one to keep an eye on. Like I said, he's a fun player to watch. Yeah. It's quick. 4.4 speed is crazy. You did see it on one long run. That's real speed. So I mean, one to watch for and could be fun to watch in a few years.
Yeah, hopefully you don't lose out on Ziegler. Then you won't have to go that route. But hey, maybe this guy ends up being better. I mean, you never know. They're so young. Yeah, you're so young in your high school career. You don't know what kind of prospect he could become. But all right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. I'm Jaron. Check out my work over at Athlon Sports. That's Landon. Follow us, Locked On Mississippi State. We're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We're back to posting daily videos Monday through Friday, so check those out. Also, hit that like, subscribe, ring the bell. Help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers on YouTube by early college football season. We're at 667 subscribers right now, so we even gained some from yesterday. So thank you guys so much for that. And thank you for all the support. But yes, help us out in reaching our goal of that. And until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.